I would like to start off by saying thank you to all of you for the love and appreciation you have extended to my previous videos like Consciousness, Hell, and especially Bhagavad Gita, which is viewed on YouTube in English and Hindi as of today over 30 million times and progressively growing every day. So thank you very much for your help, as it was not possible without your contribution. Enlightenment is my next effort to share with you the absolute knowledge in the most simple words. The idea of creating this video came in 2009, but due to lack of time and other resources, it kept on delaying until now. And I'm sure that you will appreciate and like it the way you have liked it before. Sun has rise, Bigul has called. Pick up your arm, warrior. This life on earth is your own war to find the perfect version of self for your own salvation. This story begins in a small town where one night a mother was showing the stars to her 7 or 8 years old son.
That is the Bear constellation, and there are 7 stars in it. That is the Sirius, dog star, brightest star of all. The nights we can't see the moon, it is the dog star which lights up the whole sky. And that one over there is the North Star. It always points north and helps us to navigate in the night if we are ever lost.
Who made these stars, Mother?
God.
How big is God if He has made all?
Endless.
Endless? Then where does God live?
Beyond those stars.
Mother pointed her finger somewhere deep in the sky and then gently put her finger on the boy's chest, right on the top of his heart, and said,
And God lives in our heart.
Does He live in the sky or in our heart? God was becoming confusing concept to the boy. So he asked, Can I see God?
Yes.
Mother said,
When you are ready, when you are awake.
You mean tomorrow morning?
No, not tomorrow, but one day.
But I am awake now.
You are awake, but not awakened. One day you will be awakened to understand the purpose and the meaning of your life.
Is there a purpose of our life, Mother?
Yes, God has created all for a purpose. Sun to give light, rivers to give water, trees to give shade, mountains to give energy. The same way people also have a purpose.
And what is that purpose, Mom?
To enlighten yourself first with knowledge, and then, as a North Star or Dog Star, to show the right path to those who are lost in the darkness.
When will I become North Star?
That only God can tell. But for now, go to sleep.
The boy slept and many years passed. He has grown up as a man, living his life in a big city. But once in a while, he comes up on his balcony and his eyes look for the North Star, which is lost in the city lights behind a GPS. Coming! Somebody was calling. Tomorrow is office again. And as of now, that seems to be the only purpose of life. But as time passed, I realized that this life is a game of snakes and ladders, where time to time we all are bitten with snakes, like bad experiences, bad relationship, unemployment, sickness, loss, death in the family, and many a times our own bad karma, which bites us, breaking our comfort zone and throwing us into deep depressions, from where some never recover and many bend down on their knees not knowing what to do. I was also bitten by some of these snakes, and one day I was also on my knees, helpless, hopeless, sobbing in a dark, isolated room. Forgive me, Please forgive me. This is not the life I asked for. Please take it if you can't change it. Late in the night, I heard a voice. What will you do in return if I forgive you? It sounded like my own voice. Or was I talking to someone? Tell me what I need to do. Whatever I share with you when the time comes, you have to share it with others. Sure, I can do that. I hope you won't change your mind later. Why would I do that? Sharing the truth is a scary proposition. The choice had a mysterious smile in it, as was testing my commitment. I will not be scared. I promised myself that I never would forget this. After a little while, I slept, but in the next few days, I realized a change within myself. I was more calm, quiet, and above all, observant. I was observing everything as I am seeing it for the first time in my life. I was validating my own understanding. I was able to see better, smell better. I self-realized that this life on earth is not any random act or by chance. In fact, we all are part of a very intelligent, recursive reality created by a super intelligent system, which has been running for millions of years. I was understanding what was never known before. Soon I started exploring and expressing, and was popular on social and other medias. I also understood that I am not the first one, or the only one, or even the last one to experience this awakening. It is actually the right of every spirit to know self. Awakening is a natural process and existed along with the creation of the very first self, which has the conscious to evolve and developed into a fully grown species. This continuous changing conscious not just help us in developing physically, but evolve us mentally and emotionally in 7 different thresholds of our awareness, which may start with our basic needs, but eventually take us to a higher level of understanding to know about the true purpose and meaning of our life. Human beings in their 40s and 50s are common to experience awakening in a very natural way, reaching to their higher consciousness, and after the experience, they live a better, fulfilling life with their superior choices in life. All famous world leaders, artists, inventors have experienced this evolution at some point of time in their life. And then, with that self-evolution brought a revolution in this world. I was awakened and understanding the life in a newer way. Awakening sure is more beautiful than the northern lights, deeper than the sea, and mysterious than our galaxies. Yet this magical ride is not an easy ride. It soon made me feel detached from material world, which affected my work and family life both. My knowledge and change in behavior was a surprise to my friend, and this change drifted me apart from them also, leaving me alone all by myself. Sudden financial losses, traffic tickets, and couple of accidents during the same time made my situation more worse. And finally I developed anxiety, depression, and anger in my behavior. And one day, while flying back from a work trip, I started having heart pains in the flight. And then eventually I had problem in breathing. I was losing conscious and thought this is the end. Person sitting next to me called the attendant, and an oxygen mask was put on my face. My eyelids were folding, and I saw my whole life in a flash. The flight landed 35 minutes before time, and I was shifted to the paramedics van standing near the runway. After a thorough checkup, I was let go. The next morning, I saw my family doctor, and I was diagnosed with the extreme stress. He advised me to take some rest. While I was struggling with this, my father fell ill and was hospitalized in ICU, and I have to travel back home. Unfortunately, after a few weeks of doctor's struggle and our prayers could not save him, father's death was the last blow which shattered me to threads. There is sure nothing so bad I have ever experienced than losing a parent. Days of quiet mourning gave me a reason to revisit my own life. I spoke to my mother also about the problems I was facing. We recognized the problem, but were still away from the solution. After cremation, to immerse my father's ashes, I traveled with my mother and brother to Haridwar. Haridwar means God's gate. It is one of the most sacred places in India, where Hindus perform last rituals to say final goodbye to the dead ones. The place sure has a spiritual ambience. Even in the air in Haridwar has a special aroma of the smoke from havans and mortars performed since thousands of years. Water of Ganges, sound of mantras creates an eternal peace in Haridwar. The last prayers and rituals of my father made me understand that death is inevitable. We come empty-handed and leave empty-handed. Anything which we gain, possess on earth is given back at the end. We all know this reality, yet fail repeatedly in controlling our greed, jealousy, comparison, which brings nothing but misery in our life until we are alive. After the prayers, I decided to be alone for a while. So I went to one of the less crowded bank of Ganges. Water was so tempting that I decided to take some dips, so removed my clothes on a bench nearby and got in the river. Water was freezing cold and flow was very fast. I hold on to an iron chain tied on the bank and left myself flowing freely for some time. It was so refreshing that it took my months of tiredness in just few seconds. If you are ever looking for a service station to repair your soul, take a dip in the Ganga and say Har Har Ganga and you will know what I mean. After a few more dips and laps, I came back to the bench where I left my clothes. I saw an Indian sage with long braided hair sitting on the corner of the bench, busy making his marijuana chillum. I said namaste and sat on one corner. He lit his chillum, took some long drags and exhaled a cloud of smoke from his nostrils. And then he passed the chillum to me. Take it. It is Bholenath's prasad. Har Har Mahadev. I took the chillum, took some drags and immediately started coughing. My forehead and neck were covered with the sweat. I returned the chillum, but in a little while I felt relaxed. Sage was not wrong. He looked at me and asked, "Whose ashes did you immerse?" At first I was surprised. How he knew? But then a thought came, why else someone would come in Haridwar? So I answered, "My father's. May his spirit rest in peace." The word spirit made me a little inquisitive as I wanted to know his perspective on this word. So I asked, "What is spirit?" We are all spirits with a body and a mind, temporary on this earth for a test of our morality, test of our purity, test of our devotion through our own karmas, our own actions. There is judgment after this life, where we all have to stand in that Vishnu Panchayat for a final assessment. If we pass, we unite with Holy Spirit or Paramatma, and if we fail, spirits need to reincarnate and come back on earth in a new body and continue this test until they pass in some life to meet Holy Spirit or God, an entity which is not an entity yet holds all entities of this world. The sadhu stopped and took few more drags from the chillum and then passed on to me. The information was very interesting, so I asked him another question. Why do we fail when we know the rules for this test? Sadhu replied, wrong desires and decision under the influence of bad emotion becomes the reason for our failure. We must know that it is our five senses which becomes reasons for our desires and force our mind to use our body in those actions which makes our senses emotionally happy and satisfied. However, there are some bad emotions like lust, anger, ego, greed, and any action taken under the influence of these emotions becomes reason for failing this test. How can I clear this test? I was curious. You can clear this test provided you know the yogic postures which will allow your energy to flow freely in your body and making it stress-free. Alternate breathing or pranayam that will help you to explore your subconscious and unconscious mind where answers to all mysteries are hidden, and there you will also find the purpose of your life. Third is mindfulness, which will give you the ability to control and manage your thoughts and mind both, to stay focused on your purpose to make your life meaningful. And fourth, emotional intelligence, which will help you to control and manage your emotions and heart both, so that you could refrain yourself from any evil emotions. His answers were making me more interesting. So I continued and asked him, how can I control evil desires? Sadhu said, through devotion, wisdom and discipline, you could easily burn your evil desire. But remember, until one have God's name on lips and rosary beads or japa mala in fingers, this struggle will continue. Sadhu stopped. I asked my next question. How can I balance my life? By giving importance to your responsibilities first, to your karam, and it will automatically balance all out itself. It was dips in Ganges, ambience of Haridwar, marijuana, or the knowledge gained from sage, but it sure made me calm. My eyes were getting heavy and closed soon. After a little while, I opened my eyes. I was all by myself on the bench. The sage had already gone. In fact, there were only few others left. My throat was dried, yet I asked one of the sage, "Hey, do you know where did the sage go? The one who was sitting here on the bench?" "I did not see anyone." Maybe he just came and had not seen him. Or else, who was I talking to? Maybe my own conscience. While contemplating this, I remembered the real reason why I was in Haridwar. My father's death started bothering me again, and thinking of mother and brother waiting at station made me started walking fast towards them. We boarded the train, which soon left Haridwar, leaving me in the train to conclude, awakening is just the beginning or first step in the evolution of consciousness. The actual purpose of the spirit is to liberate or solve from this cycle of life and death. For years, spiritual seekers from all over the world has traveled to Haridwar, and Haridwar is always the first destination on their itinerary. And today, I knew why. I was shedding tears, uncontrollable tears. I was enlightened, and the only witness of my enlightenment or Atam Gyan was the fast running train, and taking me to the purpose of my life. Life truly is a game of snakes and ladders, where with right ladders one always come out from the deep hole of depression. The sadhu's teaching act as right ladders to first balance and then take control of my life. I could not bring what was lost, however, could create a new reality along with my progressive spiritual growth, which I gained first through travel, then reading, and finally tapping my own unconscious mind through trance meditation sessions. I was understanding my part and message. Things were getting clearer to me. And I realized that evolution of consciousness is neither limited to an individual and nor does it discriminate anybody based on color, religion, or even country. Whenever human beings' problems go beyond an individual or community, this world has witnessed a global awakening among human beings to take care of that problem with their collective consciousness, to make Earth a better and a safer place for generations to come. 5,000 years back, it was called Krishna consciousness in East and Moses consciousness in West, which introduced Karma Yoga and 10 Commandments and changed not just the concept of understanding God, but even the rules for the judgment. 2,000 years back, it was Christ, Greeks, Romans in Middle East and Europe, and Mayans, Aztecs in South America are other examples of this collective consciousness who explained life and creation in their own unique way. 700 years ago, it was Renaissance time, which gave birth to painters and sculpture artists all over the Europe, who contributed to create a colorful visuals of their understanding about life, creation, and creator. 400 years ago, this collective consciousness gives us knowledge of navigation, which minimized the distance between the different belief systems, arts, cultures, and civilization. And humans learned from each other to make their life better. Saint Peter from Russia, Columbus from Italy, Vasco da Gama from Portugal, and thousand others who were with them are part of the same collective consciousness. 200 years ago, consciousness of science was introduced and humanity was enlightened with the inventions. 80 years back, humans understand the curse of slavery and more than 20 countries were liberated from European invasion. 50 years back, world saw women leadership and leaders like Sheikh Hasina, Margaret Thatcher, Indira Gandhi, Benazir Bhutto, Chandrika Kumara Tunga, and Mother Teresa became perfect examples of evolution of global consciousness. Industrialization, robotics, nanotechnology are other examples of the same consciousness. Recent fight with COVID-19 or Black Lives Matter after George Floyd's murder are also the examples of our continuously changing global consciousness. New conscious ends and destroy not just ignorance, but anything created by that ignorance. For a new world, better world, a safe world, where all could live in harmony, peace, and love. I also realize that we are living in an infinite pool of consciousness, which is changing continuously. And this change of consciousness is not just limited to human beings, but to any life on earth, and most important, on the earth itself, whose consciousness is also changing continuously, making our earth capable to sustain itself and life on it. This earth's consciousness is part of the galactic consciousness. Let me explain you in very simple words. Have you ever surprised how each species with different eyes sees the world? How a cell knows how to develop into a full species? Who controls the laws of friction and gravity? How a fish knows to swim and a bird knows to fly? All this is part of the galactic consciousness, which keeps life flowing progressively by evolving every species to sustain when it is bad times and populate when it is good times. This consciousness is maintained by the electromagnetic flux created by our planets. Astrology is also a part of the same consciousness. Change in galactic consciousness happens once in thousands years, but when it changes, it creates impact on every life on earth. Christians call it apocalypse, Muslim Qayamat, and Hindu as change of yuga. But if and when our earth becomes extremely polluted or impure, it gets destroyed. And then it takes thousands of years to become ready and pure again to retain the cycle of sacred human life. We all know that we are vulnerable to tsunamis, meteor collisions, nuclear wars, pandemics, and any of these can end the world we know. I am not saying that world is coming to an end tomorrow, but it can. It has ended before, and not just once but several times. We have found remains of ancient civilization, some immersed in the water, some grounded under, but each screams that they were grand once as much as our civilization today is. And question is, if it is ending, then as spirits, are we ready to be judged? Are we confident that we will clear this test and solve ourselves from this cycle of life and death? Because if we fail, then we need to reappear for this test. And if earth is immersed in water, or for some reason can't hold human life, then what? A wandering spirit without a body and a mind? Sure, it will be worse than living in a hell. We cannot undo what we have done, but we can do better going forward, starting today or right now by staying focused on the ultimate goal of our life, which is nothing but salvation, liberty, mukti. If you know it or have understood this message, then it is time to share this truth with others so that no one lose this only opportunity to unite with Holy Spirit one day. Just click share button and be a North Star or a Dog Star in someone's life who are either lost or maybe still living in darkness. Choice is yours.